Alright everybody, welcome back to another Xvault gaming video. Xvault here, and today what I want to go over, not that I wanted to, but what I need to go over is just some of the Starfield information. And I mentioned in the previous Starfield video that I didn't want to talk about it unless there was something substantial. So at this point, what I'm going to go over is some things to kind of keep in check and keep that hype level at a minimum, because there's some new findings and everything with these copies being out and in review already. The embargo has not lifted yet, but let's go ahead and go into what's going on here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump to it. Alright, so like I was saying, what we're going to go over is some Starfield information and what I feel is important to bring up because of the fact that there's a lot of other things I mentioned in the previous Starfield video that there was some stuff going on that I didn't necessarily agree with, such as the early access for September 1st if you pay an additional $30, $35, whatever it is, to get your hands on just a week earlier. And I was wondering how they're going to kind of combat the fact that, hey, this is hitting day one on Game Pass, even though this technically is not day one on Game Pass because you have early access if you want. So really, is that early access or is that not day one Game Pass? However you want to break it down, there's a lot to kind of divulge and unpack there essentially. But that being aside, why I'm stating, and again, this is not me saying that Starfield's going to be a bad game. I'm just thinking, and I'm not thinking, I'm knowing, and I'm going to show you here some false promises that Todd Howard has stated about Starfield, unfortunately. And I'll share that with you as well. But first of all, I'm going to put something up on screen here from Tom Henderson, as you can see. And I'll read this as well, but he goes on stating, just getting around to all the Starfield boundary stuff from an article that went up on Instagram, which I actually thought was fine since deleted. Basically, planets have a different number of landing spots with terrain limits. One planet might have 3 landing spots, while another might have 5. These are your main landing spots with POIs, points of interest. And then you have another number of landing spot allocations where you can land anywhere. Once again, terrain limit. You can't run all the way around a planet or whatever, and you can't run to another landing spot. Must just be a means to not stress the consoles, computers, or whatever. So that's very interesting to me with the fact that, you have all this going on. Todd Howard, and I'll put this up here as well, stating that he made it seem really like maybe not in the scope of Star Citizen. So if you're not familiar with that, go look it up. It's a very, very simulation-based star, exploration, planet, space, all that stuff. Very, very intensive and, a lot of information, a lot of actual simulation, realistic type of stuff, essentially. Shipbuilding, all that. So that's what we're looking at. And then you have the other spectrum, right? Which is No Man's Sky, which was a complete dumpster fire from day one. And it took a lot to turn around. Again, false promises from Sean Murray himself. Went on multiple interviews, multiple presentations, stated you can do anything, anywhere. You'll maybe meet people, this, that, and the other, right? We all remember that. If not, I think even... goodness, it's eluding my mind right now who was actually made a video about all the false promises. He did one about Cyberpunk as well for its release. I forget his name. Something Cat, I believe. But I'll have to try and find that. But regardless, you get this hype level up there, and then all these promises aren't what was delivered on day one. So Todd Howard basically, as you've seen here, made it seem like you could do anything, anywhere. You can land anywhere on the planet. There was not points of interest. There was not specific situations where you could, land on certain terrain or places in general and landing spots. So that's a little, when I say a little, I mean a lot. Misleading. I try to be nice here, essentially, all trolling aside, and give everything the benefit of the doubt. But it's just unfortunate. I hate to see. My point being on this video is I hate to see lies and misleading and kind of talking around the center of the matter, essentially, and just these false promises and false hype. This game was supposed to be the end-all be-all, this just next generation of this is it, this is the IP. And not to say that it won't eventually get there, that it's not going to not be a great game, but don't lie. There's no reason to lie. You can come out and say, hey, right from the get-go, we can have certain spots you can land at. You're not going to be able to do everything in the planet, but a large chunk. This is how big the maps are. Give the right information, and your player base and your fans are going to be okay with that. There's no reason to lie. This game was going to have a large player base from day one regardless. I don't understand the lies, and I don't understand the misleading, and I understand marketing, and I understand sales because I was part of that for quite a while in a couple different jobs I've had. I understand the meaning to market stuff. I understand the meaning to sell it no matter what. You got to sell it to the moon and back. You got to do what relates to that consumer to make that sale. In this case, you didn't need all this fluff, this misleading information. You know, the good news I'm going to say is a lot of the talk so far is there's very minimal bugs, if any. So that is a very, very positive thing to hear. We'll see if that's true to form once we get that embargo lifted on September 1st. But that, and then there's let's pop up this other video here, where we're just going to look at the fact of some hitbox interactions here, right? I'm sure there'll be a day one patch once it's officially live. This might be pretty early, but the hitbox detection's a little off as well. I've also heard about some rumblings where you're going to have, you know, the main story, and then it really picks up after you do all the main story. There's all the secondary stuff, and that's when it really opens up. So if that's the case, you know, that could just be a directional thing. Who knows? But, you know, regardless, that's just how it is. But I just wanted to kind of temper those expectations for those of you out there maybe on the fence of getting that early access. I would personally say if you can wait a week and you already have Game Pass, or you have the means to want to try it on Game Pass or sub to it at that point in time, I would say definitely wait for that. And then if you want to do anything else aside from that, you can. There's going to be microtransactions anyway, so it's going to try and recoup some of those funds that way as well. But I just don't know if this is something that generates, hey, we need to pay early access to play this game. I don't see that being necessary. If you can't wait and the hype gets you, by all means. But again, this video is just meant to temper those expectations. If you came in thinking you could do stuff in No Man's Sky, how No Man's Sky is today, where you can truly go anywhere and everywhere, that's not the case necessarily. The other thing I want to mention is there are loading screens, there are load sections, you're climbing certain ladders, your ship is kind of predetermined to take the flight off. You're not getting in there like No Man's Sky and taking control of it from liftoff to land and all that. You don't get to do that. Some of you may already know that, some of you may not. But just don't put it in the same scope essentially as what No Man's Sky is today, as far as what you can do. I think maybe eventually they're going to continually do possibly free patches. There's obviously going to be a huge modding community behind this. There's going to be a lot of things you can do, but day one it's going to be a little more limited than maybe what some of you were led to believe, or what Todd Howard was stating as you've seen in that video previously. So just keep that in mind. Wanted to give that a heads up here, and hopefully everything goes well, everything else. I'll just give you a prediction score on Metacritic, which don't take any Metacritic scores to heart because that doesn't always resonate with each player. But I feel like this could hit. We'll see how true this is. I think this will hit around like an 86, maybe 87. But I'm going to stick with a firm 86. Again, which is not a bad game at all. A lot of great games score around 85 to 87. So I feel like that's a safe bet, considering everything that's going on with the game. So we'll see how that works out, see if that pans out. But we'll be definitely checking back in to see what this resonates with the gaming community once it is released, and see if any of these marks truly hit or miss. So appreciate that. Everybody enjoy the rest of your day, of course. I appreciate all the support. Leave that like, comment down below. Would love to hear from you. And of course, if you haven't already, definitely consider subscribing. We are at 656 subscribers at the time of recording out of 1,000. That is the goal. I know we can definitely get there, so thank you so much for that help. We will see you all next time on the next Xvault gaming video. And until then, take care.